One path is we stay on Earth forever, and then there will be some eventual extinction event. I don't have an immediate doomsday prophecy, but it's eventually, history suggests there will be some doomsday event. The alternative is...
If you want to achieve something big in this life, you need to have a clear vision. First of all, you need to understand what is this that you're trying to achieve. And the second thing that you need to understand is that why this is important. But having a clear vision is not enough. You need to sell your vision to others. Persuade them that your idea is important and they need to join your cause. Because if you're able to inspire and persuade others in your vision, you will be able to attract a great team, raise capital, and get a lot of support. And it's one thing if you're selling a vision of having this new app on the market, and it's a completely another thing that you're persuading people that you're going to Mars. And that's actually what we will be watching today. No other than Elon Musk will be selling his vision, how to make humans a multiplanetary species. My name is Nikita. This is Influence Lab, where we're watching and analyzing how other people influencing and persuading others using psychology. So before we dive into the video, let me give you a little bit of a context so you understand actually what's going on here. Who will be influencing us today is Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX. The event where everything will be happening is no other than 67th International Astronautical Congress. Already sounds very, complicated. I want to say that it happened in 2016, 2017. So this event that we're going to watch actually was happened before the first landing of the SpaceX rocket. So if you were not really living under the rock, I'm pretty sure you don't, right? So you know that, nowadays after 10 years, we already know that Elon Musk succeeded with the first part of his plan, that he actually landed one part of a rocket back to Earth so they can use it multiple times. So the audience, who he will be trying to persuade, who are the people that they're in that Congress? Number one, members of the scientific community, government representatives, and industry leaders involved in space exploration and technology. What he will be doing? Well, he wants to change the belief. He wants to sell the vision that we can start a colony on Mars during our lifetime. Well, sounds very ambitious, sounds very interesting, right? Well, obviously the difficulty how to do that is pretty high, right? Like I said, it's one thing that you're trying to raise money from investors just for your next app. And it's completely another thing when you need a lot of money because you're going to Mars. And also a little bit of an important context that the battleground, the arena where everything will be happening is that this is a public speech in front of a very, very large audience, okay? How large, you may ask? This large. Okay, well, now you know everything. Now, let's jump right into the video. Look, the whole video is 1 hour long, okay? So definitely we will not be watching the whole video, okay? But I will just highlight the key moments, the most interesting, what he does in order to persuade and influence others, okay? Headphones on. Let's get it started over here. The first question that you might ask, well, Nikita, this is not Elon Musk. This is just some old man. Well, this guy is just... introducing Elon Musk onto the stage. So let's go here. Here is our star of the day.
All right, so thank you very much for having me. Look forward to talking about the SpaceX Mars architecture and what are...
The first thing that I want to say, by the way, is at the beginning, he's actually a little bit nervous here, right? As you can see here, according to his body language, his tonality, he's not really, he doesn't really sound that persuasive at the beginning. This is very important, actually. And I think that this is, the small thing that can be improved here because it's not only about what you say, but also how you're saying it, right? That if you're a leader, if you're sharing the vision, you need to be confident, right? So yeah, this is a little bit of a small thing that can be improved here, but all right, let's keep watching.
What I really want to try to achieve here is to make Mars seem possible, make it seem as though it's something that we can do in our lifetimes.
In the first 20 seconds, he basically says the power phrase that catches everyone's attention and everything now becomes very interesting, right? That he's very, very clear with his idea, with his vision. He can articulate it in one sentence. It's basically going to Mars in our lifetimes. Because people understand that, yeah, eventually over some time we will go to Mars, right? Yeah. We know that. But in our lifetimes? Okay, I'm listening.
First of all, why go anywhere, right? There are really two fundamental paths. History is going to bifurcate along two directions. One path is we stay on Earth forever, and then there will be some eventual extinction event. I don't have an immediate doomsday prophecy, but it's eventually, history suggests there will be some doomsday event. The alternative is...
He starts actually this presentation with the problem, okay? Every vision, every idea starts with there's the problem that we have something right now, something that we're not really satisfied with. And, well, our vision, our mission is actually to fix it, right? That's our cause. And the problem that he's trying to solve is that if we don't do that, we're all gonna die. Okay, so he's using here what is called actually a fear appeal.
To become a spacefaring civilization and a multi-planet species, which I hope you would agree that is the right way to go. Yes?
After starting with a fear appeal, he actually provides a solution right away. It's actually very, very important, okay? When you're using a fear appeal, you need to be very, very tricky with that because there's a right dosage of fear that you can use. Because if you don't really use enough of fear, audience will not really be motivated, okay, to do and take some action because, like, why bother? Now, if you're using a lot of fear, you know, there's like this feeling when you're like so scared that you just freeze and don't do nothing. Well, this also can appear here, okay? So you really need a dosage of fear, right? Dosage of fear, okay? Number one. And number two, what you need to do is that right after that, you need to have a clear direction what to do next. And actually, that's what he does here. He actually starts with a fear appeal by saying, well, you know what? There's a very high chance that we will go extinct after some time. And that's why we need to become a multiplanetary species. Great, great. Love that.
So how do we figure out how to take you to Mars and create a self-sustaining city, a city that is not merely an outpost but could become a planet in its own right, and for us, thus we could become a truly multi-planet species.
Okay, so here basically he says his plan and basically the whole, like, sets up the topic of the whole speech, like what we need to do to create this colony on Mars, right?
There are, you know, sometimes people wonder, well, what about other places in the solar system? Why Mars?
What he actually does is very, very interesting, is that before actually diving into some solutions, he addresses some other possible objections, possible concerns, okay? So this is called a two-sided persuasion. Because the audience that he's trying to persuade might ask actually a very reasonable question. Well, first of all, like, why Mars? I mean, we can go to Venus, we can go to Moon, we can go to Jupiter, we can go to, I don't know, any other planet, doesn't really matter, right? Like, why Mars? And actually he addresses it right up front before he dives, you know, like into more of a detailed plan.
Put things into perspective, this is an actual scale of what the solar system looks like. So
it's actually here a very, very interesting way how they've done it, right? Is that people love contrast, okay? We analyze everything using contrast. We compare one thing to another thing. And as you can see here, he actually compares all of the planet to the sun. And in this comparison, it actually looks like very, very effective, right? I love that.
We're currently in the third little rock from the left. That's Earth. And our goal is to go to the fourth rock on the left. That's Mars. In terms of nearby options, we've got Venus. But Venus is a high pressure, super high pressure hot acid bath. So that would be a tricky one. Venus is not at all like the goddess. This is not in no way similar to the actual goddess.
Actually, here it makes a really interesting reference, interesting analogy. I think that it was done also a little bit with the humor purposes. Okay, using humor in a presentation like that is a little bit risky, but I think in this case it was pretty safe.
It's really difficult to make things work on Venus. Mercury is also way too close to the sun. We could go potentially on one of the moons of Jupiter or Saturn, but those are quite far out, much further from the sun, a lot harder to get to. It really leaves us with one option if we want to become a multi-planet civilization, and that's Mars.
So like I said here, two-sided persuasion, right? He compares Mars to other possible destinations, Moon, Venus, and maybe some moons of Jupiter, right? Compares all of that and says, well, provides the reason, impact, compares all of that, and makes a conclusion, hey, Mars is a good choice. After that, to everyone is clear that yes, we should go to Mars, and he can continue his speech, his presentation. There's no intersection of sets of people who want to go and can afford to go. In fact, right now, you cannot go to Mars for infinite money. Using traditional methods,
if taking sort of a Apollo-style approach, an optimistic cost number would be about $10 billion a person.
Actually, what I really want to point out is that this presentation, as you can see here, right? So the slides are incredibly simple. Like, think about it, right? That Elon Musk, right? He makes a gazillions amount of money. He can hire like the best design team, right? But then at the same time, we can see that the slides here are very simple. See, it's just black and white and a couple of circles. Is that I just wanted to point it out because, people think when they're presenting their ideas, they're thinking, oh, you know what? We just need to hire the best designers, have very good looking slides. No, because this is actually very simple, but looks incredibly well, right? Is that it's simplistic and easy to understand. Just what we need.
Is to move those circles together. And if we can get the cost of moving to Mars to be roughly equivalent to a median house price in the US, which is around $200,000, then I think the probability of establishing a self-sustaining civilization is very high. I think it would almost certainly occur. These are the key elements that are needed in order to achieve the 4.5 order of magnitude improvement. Full reusability is really the super hard one. It's very difficult to achieve reusability for even an orbital system, and that challenge becomes even substantially greater for a system that has to go to another planet.
Actually, what I really like about this speech is that Elon Musk uses a storytelling principles in order to make this speech more interesting. What is the storytelling technique? Look, in every movie, like think about your favorite movie right now, okay? Is that in your favorite movie, we have a hero, okay? So this is the hero, and he wants to achieve something, okay? So this is his goal. And he has a plan, okay, that he's actually will go and do something, okay? But it's not that simple. It's not that actually he just goes and takes it and wins. He actually has a lot of obstacles on his way, right? Obstacle 1, obstacle 2, obstacle 3. And he's trying to bypass all of these obstacles to actually get what he wants. And what's interesting is that they're using the same structure here. Just think about it, is that, hey, we are humans and we do not want to become extinct. For this, we have our goal is to become multiplanetary species. Well, here's the problem. First problem, which planet? There's not a lot of planets we can choose. Well, solution, Mars. Okay, second problem, now it's very expensive. So what are we going to do with that? Well, we need to make everything cheaper, the solution. Okay, next problem is, hey, here's the, right? So he structures his speech by problem, solution, problem, solution, problem, solution. Because of that, because he incorporates the storytelling idea, it actually becomes way more interesting to watch. Like, every single time you feel like, oh, there's a problem. Okay, well, now we solved it. Great, we can actually go to Mars. No, here's another problem. No, let's solve it, okay? Because of that, it's actually way more interesting to watch that. That's really good. I love that.
But as an example of the difference between reusability and expendability in aircraft, and this you could actually use any form of transport. You could say a car, bicycle, horse. If they were single use, almost no one would use them. It'd be too expensive. But with frequent flights, you can take something like that, an aircraft that costs $90 million, and if it was single use, you'd have to pay $500,000 per flight. But you can actually buy a ticket on Southwest right now from LA to Vegas for $43.
So here, what he does, he actually uses a very interesting principle. He explains hard things using a simple language, using analogy. So basically, the point that he's trying to make is that we have a rocket and we just need to use it multiple times. If we're just going to use it only once and we have to build another one, it's very expensive. But he chose to explain it actually by comparing rockets to planes, right? Or to cars. And that's actually a very great solution because for our brains, it's way easier to understand something new if we just compare it or make an analogy with something that we already know. And everyone knows the planes, everyone knows cars, right? And doing this analogy is just a very simple way to make your point and be understood. That's great. I love that.
The vehicle size small, but because it's a very specialized form of jet fuel, it's lower. Very difficult to make this on Mars because there's no oil. So really quite difficult to make the propellant on Mars. And then propellant transfer is pretty good, but not great. Hydrogen, although it has a high specific impulse, is very expensive incredibly difficult to keep from boiling off because liquid hydrogen is very close to absolute zero as a liquid.
So here, right now, we're diving into some very, very technical stuff, right? That most of us folks, right, would not even understand a thing. But I actually want to say that when he's explaining these things, is that he's actually really trying to adapt his message to the audience. Okay, he's explaining like some complicated topics, right? That really requires a lot of focus and really thinking about it. But at the same time, he uses a very, very simple term. Like he's not really diving into the chemistry. Like he's not really explaining, why this thing works or why this thing doesn't work. He doesn't really dive into the chemistry side. He just stays on the surface level, like in terms of benefits. It's like, hey, can we do that? Okay, what is the cost? And what is the reusability, right? And he just explained it very, very briefly, things that are important without diving deeper into some unnecessary things. Okay, so this is basically adapting message to the audience. This is also really, really, really well done, okay?
Cost per ton to the surface of Mars. And this is a simulation of the overall system.
And then this part of a presentation ends here with a very, very emotional, movie, right? The movie of the big vision. They finish basically here this part on a very, very, emotional line, right? Like showing the vision, also visualizing it, not just saying it, but also showing it because it's even more powerful to inspire people and get applause. Look, obviously the presentation doesn't really stop here. There is another 40 minutes of conversation, okay? But here he actually dives way more into the specific parts. He just starts to describe everything in a very, very great detail. So if you're not really into the rocket science, you will not understand a thing. Well, at least that I didn't understand that, okay? Ooh, that was actually really good. You know what? I really, really enjoyed that. What I really, really like here is that, first of all, he started with a big vision. After that, he introduces the problem and the plan, and he was using a storytelling technique to actually move us, like listeners, to his plan towards his big vision. And they had a very, very, very good ending, very, very emotional one with the short movie, how they're actually achieving that and how they will achieve this big dream that we will become multiplanetary species, right? So really, really extremely well done. I actually really loved it. Yeah, there were some couple of things that I think that could have been done better. I think that the weakest part of that presentation, honestly, is the delivery. Well, but that's understandable. I mean, Elon Musk, he's not an actor or a public speaker, right? So he doesn't really have a lot of experience in that. Obviously, he's also very nervous, but that's fine. I mean, it's like a lot of people there watching and listening how we are going to go to Mars. So like, that's understandable, right? But in terms of the content, it was just, I love that. So yeah, this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, then hit the like and subscribe to my channel so you'll not miss my future episodes from the Influence Lab. My name is Akira, and I'll see you next time.